Okay, welcome back. We'll try and wrap it up in this, the third part for week one. So, to protect against viruses, we want to do things like patching, add antivirus software, maybe add a firewall in your home network. You actually likely have a firewall built into your router if it's provided by an internet service provider like Charter, Spectrum, or Comcast, or Cox Communications. You want to have anti-spam software, maybe phishing filters, and continue to educate yourself. That's absolutely essential. Now, I would like to then also add, here is a summary list of types of attacks and a description. Not required for this course, but I just thought it was interesting information, and you might like to review this and how you can defend against it. Okay? So then we look at digital safety and going green. Of course, there's a pretty good description of this in the book. And we want to go green, reducing electricity consumed, and which means reducing environmental waste generated by the computer and how we use it and how we dispose of it. Then we want to take a look at now getting back to the programs and apps. This has more to do, when we started today's discussion, we talked about inputs, processing, outputs. This has a lot to do with that centerpiece, that processing piece, right? So we use software, also called a program, to tell a computer what tasks to perform. And there are various levels of software to be concerned about. One is the operating system itself. The operating system is a set of programs that's going to coordinate all the activities that your different hardware pieces, your mouse, your monitor, your computer itself, the memory, all the hardware pieces. The operating system is going to manage that. Most operating systems are pre-installed. So when you get your new computer and you open it up and you boot up your operating system the first time, make sure you change your password from a factory setting. That's a risk to you. You want to change your password. You want to make yourself the administrator of your own program using your own username and passwords, right? Uh, and then with our operating system, we want to make sure it's not end of life. So Windows, for example, only supports operating systems for so many years. And then they quit doing patches, right? No program is ever written flawlessly. There are errors and gaps that hackers use to get inside of our system. And so when software goes end of life, especially operating systems, we want to get a new operating system, or hey, frankly, time to get a new computer. Even mobile, and so there are different types of operating systems like Windows, Linux, and Mac are three different proprietary operating systems. Our mobile devices also have their own separate operating systems. iOS is an operating system, Android, and Mac OS, just to name a few examples. So when we look at these applications, or sometimes it's called an app, app. App is a common term for an application, especially for simple applications that can be downloaded inexpensively or even for free from, say, an app store, right? Many apps are available then for mobile devices. There are apps now for televisions also, right? But then we can talk desktop applications, right? These are countless applications, and they actually fall under several categories. Some desktop applications are full-featured, like Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or Excel. That's an application or an app, full-featured, we call it, right? And while other applications may only do one or two things. A clock is an application on your computer that does one thing. It's a clock, keeps time. A calendar app does one thing, right? These are a calculator app would be another, just some examples, right? So desktop and laptop computers aren't the only devices that run apps. We talked about apps for your smartphones, your tablets, downloads. There are apps for email, like Gmail, or what about Instagram for pictures? Duolingo are some other examples of apps. And that's really what this slide was talking about, that we can get apps for a lot of things, even a GPS. I downloaded an app now, post the coronavirus world that we live in, which is a QRC, a QR code reader, right? And so a lot of times you don't get a menu anymore at a restaurant, you get a QR code. You take a picture of that with your QR reader, and you have the menu available on your smartphone. So it's an application that converts the QR code to instructions. Okay, these are just some more examples of that very concept of how we communicate using computers. I think we've talked about that. Now, moving on then, communications and networks, right? So we're communicating. We can't communicate in our house computer to computer. We can hook a cable up and the two computers can talk to each other on that cable. But that doesn't really get us very far. This is really what we want to do, is communicate our network across to another network. So a network is a collection of computers or devices connected together. And a lot of times this is done wirelessly. But you're going to need a router. A router is a device that is designed to transmit all your data, not specifically denied between networks. And so, and to do it in the most efficient means possible. A router is what enables my computer, it's routed along this network to computers in China, Russia, Bulgaria, elsewhere, right? Connecting these networks together. In fact, I would offer to you that that there are a few different, let's see, here it is. A few key components of any time there's internet traffic. You have your end user device, which we've been talking about, your computer, for example. You have your local area network, which can be within your house. You might have several computers hooked up on your network in your house. That's a local area network. Then you'll use a device called a router, right? Or sometimes known as a gateway, right? There are differences, but for this purposes, they're the same, router gateway, which is going to send your requests out and route them into these other networks in the internet and bring you back input into your computer that can be displayed as output. And all of that, to protect yourself, should include a firewall. Now, your home system from your internet service provider, your router actually has a firewall inside of it. That's actually very common nowadays. Okay, so some home networks, right? These are things that, and you want to refer to your book, has a really good description of home networks and these concepts, right? But remember the first chapter, Discovery Resource, Computers, we learned a lot about the computer and the things that it can do. This really ties to your final course project, which you should already begin to work on, right? It's about understanding your home network, which many of us either work in full-time or work in now called remote work due to COVID, or maybe we work from home part-time, so our home network becomes part of our business network. Our home network reaching out to the business network and vice versa. So I think it's important to understand throughout this course how all these pieces fit together. So as a mobile workforce, we need to understand the computer science in these terms. And so what I'm asking you to do for the end of this course, and the instructions are online, is to draw a home network using computer science terms. In fact, start out by defining computer science first and label these key elements: the cloud, the router, your computer, maybe a server if you have one, these sort of things, to help define your network using terms from every of the 10 chapters discussed in this course. And I encourage you, please, for a great grade, include security concepts that you find along the way, right? And some of those security concepts can include education, can include cloud services like retail vendors, and things like that. Okay? Now, wrapping up this lesson, be aware that there's the home user, the small or home office user. You're incorporating all of these concepts into your lesson, right? Your mobile user, maybe a power user, which is using a server as the computer because you have multiple clients reaching out to you. Maybe you started your own web application as we discussed. And then the enterprise user. Maybe you're in the office using enterprise or their network items. That does pretty much wrap it up in chapter 1. There's a lot of good reading, so you want to go through that before as preparation for the midterm exam. Also, just a good understanding of the concepts, because we all learn differently, right? Some are visual, some are audible, some are like to take notes in their book. Some like to take separate notes to get a good understanding. Frankly, I use all of those. So I encourage you to read the book now. Make sure that you've incorporated these lessons. Begin work on your course project now. Start diagramming your home network based on some of the concepts that you've heard today that will develop here into the future. And look at the reflective also. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. I did immensely. I love spending time with you guys, and I look forward to seeing you online, communicating back and forth. Write me on email. I'm happy to get back to you just as soon as I can, which will be a day or less is always my goal. Okay, best to all.